I'm always obsessed with what I meant to say, and when I try to make sense of it all, I get lost in the moment and let the moment slip away. There's something about the words you say, I hear them when you're not around, and there's something about that look in your eyes and your voice's sound. Well, we can leave this town, pretend that that's the problem, and we can live without, or we can live without. And then you tell me someday it's alright with me. I'm always the last one to notice. Yeah.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
You are listening to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with a sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Sports Network. Listen in as Brent and Dave invite you to belly up to the bar with them and talk about everything in the world of sports, just like you would do at your favorite watering hole. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans. So belly up to the bar with us, grab a beverage, and let's get into it.
The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, 4 beer sports talk and a whole lot more. Tonight's show is brought to you by SeatGeek.com. The SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 on your first purchase for Taylor Swift tickets like Dave wants to go to and everything else you might go to during this summer season. Tonight, Hockey Hall of Fame was announced last night. Who's going in, who's staying out. Joined by friend of the show, his third appearance on the 1420 podcast, Dave Roberts, and first time, long time friend of mine, long time and relative of Dave's, trying to get him on for a long time. Kent Hare. Kent, thank you for finally coming on after 2.5 long years.
Well, my goodness, the excitement and the anticipation was building for all listeners, and now I'm here with bells on. I'm excited to be here, Brent.
Dave Roberts, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again. It's always an honor to be on your guys' show.
We just lost Dave for some reason, but we'll get on with it anyways. The Hockey Hall of Fame announced yesterday who was going to the Hall of Fame. There was 3 goaltenders, a left winger in Pierre Turgeon. I don't know. I'm a goalie hugger from way back. I tried to play goal back in the day a little bit in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. I was allergic to vulcanized rubber, so that's why I'm sitting here talking to you schlubs on a Thursday night here at 1420, the 1420 Sports Podcast. Kent, let's get down to the brass tacks of it. You're a Calgary boy. You grew up in Calgary, on and on. You played some hockey back in the day. Is Mike Vernon a Hall of Famer?
Mike Vernon is a Hall of Famer, and he should have been a long time ago. If you look at his career, both in terms of the numbers he put up, the big wins that he had, in particular in 1989 and 2002, and just his, I think you could call him a top 10 goalie, or probably top 5 goalie in the 1980s, and a top 10 goalie throughout the 1990s. So I'd say he's a Hall of Famer with a bullet.
Dave Roberts, you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, so I think you're going to disagree with me on disagree with what Ken had to say about Mike Vernon being a top 5 goaltender, a top 10 goaltender in the 80s and into the 90s. I'm going to ask you next, Dave Roberts. Is Mike Vernon a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, sure. I'll give him that. I'll say he's a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't drink the Kool-Aid as much as Kent did there, but I agree with what he's done. A couple cups wins, and I don't get how they picked that, because I think there's a couple of guys, Chris Osgood, a couple guys with a few more cups that I think should be in there a little further ahead or in their previous 2. But I'm not against it. Tom Browse is another good one. He'll obviously get in there, right? I'm okay with them getting in there. It's just I think if you look at the list of guys that could be in there that aren't in there, I was looking at some on there's a couple of really good goaltenders that are still in there that have a few more cups that I think would get in first, but that it is what it is. They should all be there, I think.
I personally don't think that watching 2-7 TV back in the day, watching Eddie Whalen talk about the Calgary Flames and watching those games back. I mean, I wasn't a Flames fan by any means. My mother's more of a Flames fan than I was, but as a hockey guy, I used to watch the Flames a lot. And then Mike Vernon was never a poster or a hockey card that I was coveting back in the day. I have a little bit of a disdain for Mike Vernon for what he did to the Leopards Broncos back in 1983. So maybe that comes down to it. But Kent, I honestly, I think that Mike Vernon was a pretty good goalie. I by no means, I and this isn't for clickbait or anything else. I don't think that Mike Vernon is anywhere near the Hall of Fame. I think he's a Hall of Pretty Good, but that's about as far as I give him.
But if you peel back the onion a little more, you look at his record in particular. He beats in his prime Patrick Waugh in 1989. Okay, in that Stanley Cup final. In 2002, okay, on the Detroit run, the Avalanche had just won the Cup in 2001. 2002 comes along. They play a 7-game series. Bernie starts all 7 games. Pat Waugh starts all 7 games for the Colorado Avalanche. Bernie wins that 7-game series. He was also ran in 86 against Waugh. But if you look at those games and what he meant to those and what it brought to the Cup, not many people are beating Patrick Waugh in 7-game series in his prime on the way to the Cup or in the Cup finals.
But let's get down to brass tacks here. They can throw in Dave Roberts or Ken Hare or Brent Redlinski on those Detroit teams, and fucking anybody could have won a Stanley Cup with that team. Yes, he did win the Conn Smythe that year, and on it goes. But Mike Vernon did not win that Stanley Cup for the Detroit Red Wings. He didn't. Well, there was players that were calling Detroit to say, "Can we play for you guys because we have a good chance to win the Cup?" Mike Vernon was not the end all and beat all to win those Stanley Cups.
Do you remember who was on that Avalanche team in 2002? Peter Forsberg, Joe Sakic, some really good defense. They had an up
Adam
and down
Foote, yeah.
Was Bork on that
both
team?
Both those teams had a couple of good runs there in those few years.
And the difference came down to goaltending in that series. People to a person say that Vernon outplayed Waugh in that 7-game series there.
Dave, Dave Van Robert, you finally got back. Some technical difficulties. It happens here and there at the 1420 World Headquarters. Dave, we talked with Kent. He's saying that the one reason basically why Mike Vernon's in the Hall of Fame is because that one series win against the Colorado Avalanche. Dave, do you think that Mike Vernon's a Hall of Famer?
I do not. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think we'll talk about it later.
I love this.
I think the Hockey Hall of Fame is just doing itself such a disservice by putting all these smelts in like Barrasso and Vernon and Kevin Lowe. Like, who the fuck is next? You have completely worthy contenders to go in, and the only active one is Henrik Lundqvist, which I agree is better than both Barrasso and Vernon. But you shun McGillney. You shun someone else, and like of the
another guy who played hockey.
No. Sorry, I'm frustrated because of my internet connection. So I'm missing my names here. And then you put in fucking these legacy guys like Turgeon and Vernon and Barrasso. I don't fucking get it.
Well, I just like, if you're gonna put legacy guys in, there's a couple guys. This Claude Prost, some Gene Guy Talbot. Claude Prost had 9 Stanley Cups. I don't care if you're the 4th line plug or whatever. 9 cups, that's a pretty rare fact. That you that's a Hall of Fame worthy, I think. I don't know.
Well, it wasn't that many years ago where they put in who was the goalie for the LA Kings back in the day, and then he played for a little bit for the Montreal Canadiens, and they put him in only 3 or 4 years ago, and you're like, what the hell? Like, why do goalies get the back end of the deal? I don't understand it. I have a problem with a guy like. With Mike Vernon going in, for the simple fact is he never won a Vezina. He was never a guy to me that people were asking in a trade. People were never saying, man, if we had Mike Vernon, that's going to put us over the top. Nobody was calling Cliff Fletcher in 1991 saying, can we have Vernie because that's going to help us out? Kent?
Well, no one. Look, he was a big part of those big Flames teams, and without a doubt, without Mike Vernon there, some of those series that went 7 games with the Oilers would have gone 4 without Vernon standing on his head.
Oh, you're delusional.
What if they would have had Tommy Barrasso?
Now, look, I agree with you on Tommy Barrasso.
He's Hall of Fame. Just same as Mikey.
He's Hall of Fame, but he's not as good as Mike Vernon. Let's be clear there. Okay,
Mike Vernon's not as good as Bill Ranford. Not even close.
That's BS, Brent. Come on now. That's just
how many Team Canada invites did Mike Vernon get? 0.
Mike liked to relax in the summer. It's a well-known fact that Mike liked to have the odd sociable here and there. He was a well-known
too busy
person at Electric Avenue. Yeah, he wasn't picking up the phone. So yeah, he had other things on the go. So let's be clear. Mike Vernon showed up for playoff hockey, winning Stanley Cups, but it wasn't for that other nonsense.
I will, and one thing to note about this as well as we carry on with our conversation, this is the Hockey Hall of Fame, not the NHL Hall of Fame, which, to Barrasso and Vernon's credit, should put him further away from the ballot. Did Vernon ever play in a Canada Cup? It was.
I don't think he was ever invited.
Well, it was always Grant Fuhr, and I'm trying to remember the other goalies that Canada played.
In 91.
Cujo.
1992. Cujo was there in 96. The World Cup
before
hockey.
the Olympics. Yeah.
I don't see Eddie Belfour getting a call to go on any of those.
He's already in.
Yeah,
Eddie Balfour's in the Hall of Fame.
I get that, but there's only 2 goaltender positions. If we look at the NHL, all the different players who are in the NHL. Tell you what, Dino Ciccarelli, 600 goals for tipping the puck in front of the net. Like if you compare Dino Ciccarelli to a top tier goaltender like Mike Vernon, and their relevance to their team's success, tell you, Dino fucking Ciccarelli or Mike Vernon, who had more impact on those cup wins?
Dino Ciccarelli.
That's a valid comparison. Because I don't think Dino's a Hall of Famer either. He can score goals, but he wasn't on a lot of Canada Cup teams either, right?
Mike Vernon was battling with Reggie Lemelin for a while there, and then Rick Wamsley in the Cup years for starting position. No, Mike Vernon's not a Hall of Famer.
That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Wamsley had his skates undone on the bench because he knew he wasn't getting in that playoff run, for crying out loud. But here's a deeper, or not a deeper question, but if you look at the goalie position in the NHL, it is or the goalies who get nominated to the Hall of Fame, there are relatively few goalies in the Hall of Fame vis-a-vis other position players. And
that's a valid point, Ken. I actually have the list in front of me.
Hall of Fame goalies don't get in the Hall of Fame very much. Only 16 since 1960, whatever, that they've gotten the Hall of Fame.
So just let me run it down. Since in '93, Billy Smith from the Islanders got in
Hall of Fame.
Okay. Yep. So and then
let's do it. Let's do this. Agree or disagree with the names you're going to say, and we'll go through the list. Agree or disagree.
Okay. So in '93, Billy Smith got in.
Yes.
In 2003, Grant Fuhr got in.
Yes.
Yes.
In 2006, Pat Roy got in.
Yes.
Yes.
2011, Eddie Balfour got in.
Yes.
Yes.
2014, Hassett got in.
100%. Yes. Best goalie ever.
And then in 2016, Rogie Vachon got in.
That's the guy I was talking about earlier. And Rogie Vachon should not be in the Hall of Fame.
Well,
yeah, and then Berdeur's in there too. I don't know why he's not on this list.
Rogie Vachon got in 20 years or 30 years after he played his last game, same as Mike Vernon did.
Right.
But Dave Roberts, how do these guys get better over time?
Rogie Vachon was considered very good for his time, and possibly even the second best over that tenure to Ken Dryden. Say Tony Esposito, Rogie Vachon, and Ken Dryden were those big goalies in those 19 and Bernie Perron, sorry, 4 of them in there who were considered the 4 best goalies of that era. So I think, and also he got overlooked a lot. He went down to LA and spent a decade down in LA. So I think he was overlooked for a lot of those great efforts he put in when they were running up the score against him 7-3.
Dave Roberts, if you had, let's just say conversation because what podcasts are, if you were to trade Grant Fuhr with Mike Vernon, go one Oilers, one to the Flames, how many cups would the Oilers have won with Grant Fuhr in net, or with Mike Vernon in net? Less.
I don't think as many. Those are some pretty good days for Grant Fuhr. He was all hopped up on goofballs. Things were going good, pretty good games. I don't think he would have won more. I don't think he would have taken him over the top. And he had Ranford too there.
I personally don't think Grant Fuhr was that much better than Mike Vernon.
Oh, you're out of your head.
You are out of your head.
Dead serious. Look, they would go 7 games in all of those series.
They would have won in 4th. They would have had a good goaltender.
And get this, Vernon makes it to the Stanley Cup Finals in '86 there, and then again in '89. Where was Fuhr? Didn't lead them to the Cup in those years. Well, Fuhr was probably gone by '89.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know how they decide because, like you said, Tom Barrasso, Mike Vernon. There's a lot of goalies that weren't on that list that should be in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, you've got your Hassicks and things like that. They're game changers.
In 2 of those 5 years, Vernon goes to the Cup Finals. In 3 of those 5 years, Grant Fuhr goes to the finals on arguably the greatest team in history. The Calgary Flames were not as good as the Edmonton Oilers during that 5-year period. And yet he's in the Stanley Cup Finals 2 of those 5 years, 86 and 89.
I wouldn't say they're not that as good. Those are pretty good teams, Olaney, the Mustache, and Theo before the drug days and all that sort of stuff. There were some good players, Joe Newendike and all that sort of Dougie Gilmore.
Those Flames, Dave Roberts, I agree with you 100%. Those Flames teams were just as good, if
the Oilers weren't their counterpart in the province, they would have.
The Flames would have won Stanley Cups if it wasn't for those Oiler teams. I 100% believe that.
Now,
those Flames teams are really good.
Are you going to let them get away with the Edmonton Oilers or the Calgary Flames being as good as the Edmonton Oilers?
Well, they weren't, because if they were, they would have won, right?
But a goaltender changed that.
I don't believe the goaltender changed that. I believe
there were 7-game series, Dave. There were 7-game series that fucking went, and the goaltender made a difference.
And
obviously you had a Wayne Gretzky situation, who's the greatest ever, obviously. But you had a Gretzky and a Fuhr who were better than a McDonald or a fucking Newendike and a fucking Mike Vernon.
Well, for the bunch of those years, boys, I honestly think those are the number 1 and number 2 teams in hockey. And I know it's Oilers got the whole Messier and all those boys and Gretzky and all that stuff. But like I said, if you take Gretzky, and Gretzky is obviously one person, but if you take him out of that lineup, the Flames beat them in a 7-game series easy.
100%.
No, I don't agree easy, because they won a cup without Gretzky, right? With Ranford. Right,
but later on in the 90s,
that was in '90 without Fuhr or Gretzky. That was in '99.
That Flames team
was good.
Was made by Cliff Fletcher for the sole purpose of beating the Oilers, because we're getting our ass handed to them every time. This is what do we got to do to beat the Oilers? They weren't out to win a cup, but if we beat the Oilers, we have a really good chance to win the cup. That's the sole reason that every player on that team was there. And then it was a good team. I can't deny it. It was a very good team with Suter and Newendike and
Al McInnes, Conn Smythe, and everything else.
And that shrimp from Moose Straw and stuff like that. We won't speak his name.
We talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, but because he's a fucking idiot.
Well, there's that too.
And that's how it was back then. They played the Oilers so much time, and with salaries not being an issue, they built and structured that team to beat the Oilers. And that's why they look so good, I believe, because I think the Oilers did get a little fat and sassy in that Game 7. The only time the Flames ever beat the Oilers in the playoffs was thanks to Steve Smith.
Well,
that's the only time. That's the only time. And let's not forget that.
But they also the Calgary Flames went to the Cup in 86 and in 89 on the book.
They never beat the Oilers in 89, no.
Well, that's because they had already been knocked out, and in 86 they had already been knocked out. Okay. Oh, 86? No.
86 was Steve Smith. Yep. 89, they never got to play the Oilers.
Hey, look here.
And then the Oilers won in 90.
And look, what was that? An overtime goal? Okay, and so who knows who would have won that? So you can't just say Steve Smith. They played pretty good, and Vernon played really good in that series.
Let's put him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't think Mike Vernon's a Hall of Fame guy, because he went on to play in San Jose, did nothing there. Went on to Florida for a cup of coffee there. Went back to Calgary, did nothing there. He went on a Detroit team that was poised to win a cup no matter who was in net.
No, that's not true. I'll give him credit there, because you know what? He was better than Osgood.
That's not true.
A lot better than Osgood.
No,
lot better than
Osgood. No, that's not true, because Chris Good has actually 2 cups as a starter compared to the one that Vernon has.
Yeah.
Good's a better goaltender than Mike fucking Vernon is.
That year, no.
Are you guys putting in Osgood because you're putting in fucking Vernon? Are you putting Osgood in?
No. Vernon's a better goalie than him. He's a better goalie than Tom Barraza. Tom Barraza, I agree, should not be in the Hall of Fame. I think
But I don't have the stats in front of me. What is Tom like? He won a couple cups there and went some deep runs with Pittsburgh, with Yager and Lemieux.
Radlinski would have won the cups there with that
Pittsburgh team. That was
They would have been some higher scoring games. There's no doubt about that. But I might have had a ring on my finger for sure with those Pittsburgh teams back in 92 and 93 when they won. Tom Barrasso, let's get on to that. Tom Barrasso had a great start to his NHL career, drafted out of high school in 1983, I think it was, to Buffalo, won a Calder Trophy, and then he won a Vezina out of high school, which is unbelievable, 18 years old. It's unbelievable.
How does this sound? How about I give some comparables? I got a list in front of me, and you guys tell me who's better. Mike Vernon or the goalie I say, and then who's better, Mike Vernon or Mike Richter?
Mike Richter.
Mike Vernon.
Who's better, Vernie or Mika Kiprasov?
Kiprasov.
Mike Vernon.
Vernon
I think Ken just has a button he's hitting. Mike Vernon.
Vernon or Nikolai Habibulin?
Habibulin.
That's a tough one, but yeah,
Habibulin. How long did Habibulin play?
About the same amount. Habibulin won his cup with the Lightning when they beat the Flames there with Iggy's team.
04, whatever year that was, yeah.
Yeah, then he bounced around. He played for Chicago before they started winning.
Yeah, I'd say it's a
he was a Winnipeg Jet, then Phoenix Coyotes.
Yeah, I think Habibulin and Vernie is kind of a bit of a coin flip.
Toss up, yeah.
How about Vernie or where are we? Andy Moog.
Yeah, Andy Moog.
Vernon.
I'm with Kent on this one. Andy Moog was the big one.
Moog was really good, though.
But he couldn't win with Edmonton, and then they got Ranford, and then they shipped him to Dallas. He lost with Dallas, and he lost with Boston.
Went to Boston with the 88 Cup, 89 Cup, I think it was, the finals there with the Oilers. Let's switch lanes a little bit here. We'll get back to Tom Barrasso, who I think as a group here, Dave Roberts, Kent Hare, Dave Van Robes, I think that as a group, I don't know why somebody decided to bring up the name Tom Barrasso, and I think the name Tom Barrasso has been brought up across the World Wide Web a lot more in the last day and a half since it was announced he's going to be a Hall of Famer than it was in the last 20 years since he retired. Kent, why do you think that these names get brought up in the past, and how these guys out of nowhere become Hall of Famers? Because I don't get it.
I don't know if it is out of nowhere. The committee is always looking and reevaluating players over the course of time and evaluating their records and accomplishments. And I think they just go back and they say, well, we missed this one. We have to go back and fill in the gap here and tell the story of the NHL with these additions. And I think in the case of, I'm not going to belabor this, but Mike Vernon, they were correct. And so I'm glad they went about their good work and did that. Tell you what, a little story. I ran into Mike Vernon. He lives sort of in my neck of the woods in downtown Calgary, and I always, when I run into him, say Mike Vernon, HOF. And now when I say it, it actually is true. So it's pretty cool.
You got to remind me not where to go in town because you guys are smoking some weird stuff.
Maybe Bernie is, not me.
Dave Roberts, do you think that a guy like Tom Barrasso gets in just because it's time to put somebody in? Like, at what point when is Dave Roberts? When's the last time you even thought about Tom Barrasso, let alone mention the name Tom Barrasso?
Yeah, I think when you sent that to me, I was like, oh yeah, right. He played goalie for the Penguins. That was it. And I don't understand this. Maybe the pocketbooks, the NHL are a little low after some of the sexual assault things have been going on and hammered that way. But somebody's got to be greasing somebody's pockets because there is other goalies, there is other players that deserve to be in the Hall. I think that, especially if you're going to go to legacy guys, like guys that haven't played in 20 years. Like if you get like Henrik Lundqvist, obviously, and then Crosby's going to go in right away. They're going to go right away. Obviously, you get those guys. But when you get to legacy guys, there's got to be a better process because there's some guys that deserve, even if it's not goaltenders. And I know, I don't know if it's being all inclusive like they are with everybody else nowadays, that you got to get a couple guys in. It does look for kids like, hey, I watched him when I was younger or whatever. But that generation's passed with Barrasso and Mike Vernon. Maybe a little bit of Mike Vernon because hockey's a little bit nuts in these parts. So you get some vintage shape, especially the Battle of Alberta, where they get a little better. So you'll see some vintage stuff with that hockey coaches will do. But Tom Barrasso, there's no way he's getting pumped in any pump up videos for any goaltender. Do you know what I mean? Like it'd be different. You see Mike Vernon out there in the Battle of Alberta with the shit hanging out the back of the helmet and looking 3 feet off the ground, running around like a fucking midget. And you still see that in Alberta. Tom Barrasso, I don't get that.
But I think my cousin Dave and I always remember, and you brought it up earlier today on the show, Brent. But my cousin has had a deep-seated anger towards Mike Vernon going back generations almost.
Well, I hate him. I'll tell the story, but I want to go back to Dave's point about Barrasso. Like, tell me how Barrasso gets in before Mike Richter. Mike Richter won that World Cup of Hockey that one year. He stood on his head. I don't think I've ever seen a better goalie performance in my life. That would have been in around
1996. No, 1996. The World Cup of Hockey was about the most unbelievable display of goaltending I've seen in my life. And I'm a goalie hugger I'm not going to be apologetic at all. That goaltending performance, that Canadian team that was put together in 1996 for the World Cup of Hockey was the best Canadian team ever assembled. And I don't care. I will argue that to the day I die. That team was the passing the torch a little bit with Lindros and Gretzky and the like, and Scott Stevens was on there, Niedermeyer, and on it went. That lineup was unbelievable. Joseph was in net. It was unbelievable that Canadian team.
Richter stole that.
And Mike Richter won game 2 and 3 of that series. In the Montreal Forum. Was unbelievable. It was a high scoring 4-3 or 5-4, whatever it was. Mike Richter was the best goaltender on the planet for a short period of time.
Then he won the cup with the Rangers.
The cup with the Rangers and on and on. And why? And if you're going to put an American goaltender in, which that might have been this time around, because that does happen. And like you were saying, David, sometimes that you do get guys who get the exemption, I guess is one way of putting it. Tom Barrasso is in the Hall of Pretty Good. Mike Richter's in the Hall of Fame.
Mike Richter was elite for a couple years and put together a good career. Like super elite, as opposed to being really good.
I see you squint your eyes there a little bit, saying something different with your eyes.
I don't think Mike.
You're talking dirty with your eyes, Kent.
I don't think if we're talking about the people who got into the Hall of Fame, I think Mike Richter had shining moments. Obviously, the Stanley Cup run and the '96 series is that you guys were talking about. I don't think his body of work compares to, you might know him, I've talked about him, Mikey V's body of work. I not to beat a dead horse, guys, but you just missed the boat on
it's
that.
dead.
I honestly think Tom Barraza. I think an interesting point you brought up to Brent is the fact that he was American. That might have factored into the voters' mind, and the fact that he had a long NHL career, even if it wasn't a Hall of Fame one. That could have got him a little extra juice on the ballot here this time.
Like, neither of those guys, you would go, like, nobody was collecting Mike Vernon hockey cards outside of Calgary. Nobody was collecting Tom Barrasso hockey cards or posters outside of Pittsburgh.
That's what you put in the spokes in your bike tires.
Exactly. They were good goaltenders who served a purpose at that time, and I don't think that they were either great goaltenders. Like, no, you would never say, man, do I wish if you were outside of Calgary, outside of Pittsburgh, nobody would ever say, man, do I wish Mike Vernon or Tom Barrasso was on my team. Nobody.
No, I wouldn't trade Vernon for any goaltender.
Except
for the Portland Winterhawks.
Except 16 other teams in the National Hockey League. Okay? The general manager of those teams would have loved to have MV on their team in those late 80s, early 90s. Serious.
Mike Vernon lost more series for the Calgary Flames than he won. That's fact.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
It is true, right?
Look,
he wasn't there was like I watched Flames.
It wasn't
hockey.
their fault.
It was not the Flames' fault that you should never blame an entire series on one player. And I don't want to besmirch goaltenders, because we besmirch here in the 1420 podcast on Thursday nights a lot. But Mike Vernon was single-handedly responsible for losing more series than he won for the Calgary Flames.
Well,
that's fact.
If you look at how many series they won for the Calgary Flames on the series they made in that 5-year run, I think his record is pretty good. Went to 2 Cup finals in a 5-year run. And I think even if you probably compare his win-loss record to Fuhr's over that time, it was very, very similar. Albeit that Fuhr did go to 3 more Stanley Cup finals than Vernon did.
But I will just say that those were some really good Flames teams in those years.
They were really good Flames teams.
Yeah.
Second best in their conference.
Year after year after year.
Yeah. I just say, well, I don't think Vernon was the.
If they would have had a better goal, if they would have had a.
I want to hear that which goalie other than Fuhr that they were supposed to have on their team, and leave out Fuhr and Waugh. Okay, leave out Fuhr and Waugh. Tell me this mythical goalie that was better than Mike Vernon in that late 80s time frame.
Ken Reagan.
Oh,
Ron
for
Hextall.
fuck's sakes. Ken Reagan. Ken Reagan. Ron Hextall. Ron Hextall was done hockey by 87. Essentially, he was on the way out. Ron Hextall was.
Well, that was here. He won the Conn Smythe for losing the finals, but yeah. Hextall's just as good as Vernon is.
How about close?
How about J.S. Giguère?
No, not even
close. A little later than 97, 98. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, so a little later. So Richter Van Briesbroek. Who is that fucker that played for Olaf Kolzig?
Fuck off, Dave.
No, he wasn't very good.
Olaf Kolzig.
Kelly Rudy.
There it is.
Kelly Rudy is a comparable to Mike
Kelly
Vernon.
Rudy is just as good as Mike Vernon.
Not even close. Not even close. Not on Kelly Rudy's best day was he as good as Mike Vernon.
That's not true. He got to LA to a Cup final with Gretzky and Bernie Nichols there. Kelly Rudy was good. I don't think Kelly Rudy belongs in the Hall of Fame. Don't get me wrong.
Did Rudy even make an All-Star team?
I don't know. But Vernie didn't either.
Vernie made about 3. I know for
Bernie never won a Vezina.
You got to remember that Bernie took some nights off because he liked going out to Electric Avenue.
Well, so now are we making excuses or what here?
No, so like putting up a body of work over a season, that really wasn't his jam. But playoff time, other things, yeah, okay. Let's give the guy a little bit of a break.
I think
and that right there is why you shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Right? Hall of Fame guys don't take nights off.
Ed Belfour going night in, night out, and he's in the Hall of Fame because Eddie didn't mind getting down.
Eddie didn't mind getting down. Okay.
You don't think Kipper liked having a couple pops and cigarettes and on
all the pops and all the cigarettes actually?
So I'm not a huge Flames fan by no means. I've been to a few Flames games through work and tickets and blah blah blah. I remember one of the first games I went to as an adult, crushing beers, too many heroines in the ball tire in the hockey rink, and I go outside, chuck a dart there at intermission. I look down, the Zamboni comes out, and there's fucking Kipper, and I bet you that man put down 4 cigarettes by the time I put down 1.
With his pads on?
With the pads, the whole bit, had little shoes on, little booties on his skates, but came out, chucked like 4 darts, and the time I put down 1, and went back out there and stopped like 28 pucks in the third period.
Unbelievable.
Now that's Hall of Fame worthy, if you ask me.
That's Hall of Fame. So you wonder what because you're a Flames guy. Obviously, you're born, raised in Calgary, and everything else. You played the game of hockey. Like if they're putting in Mika Kiprusoff, why or Mike Vernon, why aren't they putting Kiprusoff in? Because that team in what was it 04, damn near won one, and then he's the best Flames goaltender of all time.
No, I
Hands
think
down.
maybe in a 1 or 2 year stint. I
Not
think
long enough.
I don't think it's a long enough career. I don't think there's enough depth, or the numbers just aren't there.
I do feel bad because he did get rode hard, put away wet, because they outworked him a lot, but he was a stellar goaltender.
Yeah, he just doesn't have. If you're given it, possibly on the best goaltender who had the best season ever for Calgary, it'd be Kiprusoff 2004, without a doubt. But I think the lengthy career goes to Vernon.
So let's talk about the Hall of Fame there, like especially as a goalie, because when I looked up that list, the goalies are really underrepresented as a position in the Hockey Hall of Fame. They really are. So is 5 years of brilliant work not recognized as 15 years of really good work with two years of brilliance?
It has to be really brilliant 5 years. Like I'm talking Sandy Koufax 5 years, or Eric Lindros dominance 1990 through 1995.
I think Kiprusoff had 5 years of dominance. I think for goaltender to get in the
Hall of Fame, I think for goalie getting the Hall of Fame, you got to win at least one Vezina to be the best ones. The best ones. Like you got to be the best, and then you have to have years where you are unbeatable. Like Hasek was that's a whole other level. Hasek was for how many years, but you have to be the guy for at least 3 to 4 years. But you have to get at least one Vezina. Winning a cup is important, obviously, because winning a cup for a goaltender, that's the upper echelon of things to get in the Hall of Fame. I don't think you need to win a cup to get in the Hall of Fame as a goaltender. As a forward defenseman, Lindros, it helps your cause get in the Hall of Fame. But a goaltender needs to be the best for at least 1 year and be upper echelon for at least 4 years, where you're that guy where teams are like, we're not scoring tonight.
Well, it's one of those things. If we're talking Hall of Fame goes down in is the Bible, or is in glory of your sport, right? Like that's you're in eternity for the rest of your life, embedded in that sport's memorabilia forever.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to change the game or be on some level where if it wasn't for that person, this team would have never have won. I just think it's
that's better. Yeah.
Right. Like it's one of those things that this Hall of Fame is special, and you shouldn't just gift guys in to Hall of Fame spots. I think just because it's a token thing to do, I think like if you're going to put in criteria for stuff, like the game had to be, and I get you want to go back and look at, maybe take it down a little bit for older players, things like that. Maybe that's why they let Vernon in. I'm not too sure, but it's one of those things that if you if you're going to be a champion, it's got to be you got to be a champion, and you got to change the game. Like, hey, how many? Carey Price is obviously we'll use him. Dominic Hasek. There's no way they even get to a cup final without him.
With
Right?
Buffalo
Like,
back in 99
whatever
or whatever it was. Yeah.
Here, let's do the same exercise. Tom Barraza on the 1991-92 Penguins. Who you could interchange him with about 15 goalies in the NHL that year and win that Stanley Cup.
Well, like you said, Dave, I know.
McLean.
Like Dave, you were laughing about it. Like you kind of made a joke about Ken Reggett. Ken Reggett was the backup for those Penguin teams back when they were winning Stanley Cups, and because they won Stanley Cups because they had a guy named Yammer, and they had a guy named Mario, and then a guy named Ron Francis on those teams.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of Tom Barrasso, but by no means were those cups won because of Tom Barrasso. And if Ken Reggett was playing number 00 for the Lethbridge Broncos, Kenny Reggett playing net for those teams, they still would have won. They still would have won.
I agree. I 100% agree. And so we're all 100% agree. Like, we're 3-on-1 against Vernon, but we're 4 on who the fuck voted Barrasso in, and how did he even get onto the ballot?
Like, why? Like, Kent,
I don't even know how he was up for consideration.
Dave, Kent, I want you to comment on this a little bit, because you're the oldest one of the group, and you're the best looking, by the way, as well.
There you go.
But I want to know, like, why is it that 20 years later, these guys get brought out of the tomb and become fucking Hall of Famers out of nowhere? Because nobody was clamoring for Mike Vernon, maybe you in your neighborhood in Calgary. Nobody was clamoring for Tom Barrasso to end up in the Hall of Fame. Like, nobody was saying that there's many other players who are eligible right now that could have got in, but because TSN has the rights to TV and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's nobody saying, hey, you know what? We need to have Tom Barrasso in the Hall of Fame.
I tried this a little earlier. I think I'll take another swing at it. Maybe it was a year where there was just relatively few people up in the Hall. Maybe there was not someone in the natural cycle that was going to fit the bill. Look, it's become a bit of a way to showcase the sport that people look forward to debating on shows like yours and in pubs and restaurants across Canada and throughout probably the world a little bit. So maybe it's a little bit of feeding the beast that you have these people come up. There just wasn't a natural pipeline of people to put in this year.
You wonder, Dave Roberts, you wonder why this goes on. And you brought this guy's name up earlier on tonight. Like, a guy like Alexander McGillney, who scored 80-some goals one season and the Stanley Cups and everything else, and one of the greatest players, one of the greatest Russian players ever played the game, and he doesn't get in. Like, where is the logic there with this? Is it a political thing? When we really do a good effort and not being political in the 1420 Sports Bar podcast, because that only turns poorly for everybody. It's just like, why isn't McGillney in? Because he's like, you think about like if Bure's in, McGillney is better because McGillney actually has a Stanley Cup to his name.
Yeah, that's again what I don't get with the older players they're getting in. Like I said, there's other players, and if it's just inclusion that you're including goalies to get a couple goalies in there, I don't like that a whole bunch. But there is a lot of good skaters out there that still need to be in that aren't in.
Hey, I actually think McGillney did have a few really good years. I don't think he dominated quite like Bury did, and even though Bury's career was very short, I don't think he ever reached the upper echelon of a Lindros or even a JR Superstar out of Chicago, that type of player. And I think he was a tier below the players of the 1990s who have been let in so far.
Fair enough. This consistency. He was consistent for a lot of years. I didn't have to look at the stats. Don't got him in front of me. But the name popped up a lot on the score sheet, right? And it is a consistent thing. The Tom Barrasso, I think that he would make more of an impact in the game of hockey, especially with young players and the impact that off the ice, what he's done, or what they do for hockey. I think
more people wanted Alexander McGillney on their team than they wanted Tom Barrasso or Mike Vernon.
100%.
I agree, and then
No, because there was look, they're outside of Grant Fuhr and Pat Roy in the late 90s. Vernon was the third best goalie in the NHL for those 5 years.
wouldn't know it by his international schedule.
I don't know, man.
Okay, I've challenged you guys.
When you're battling fucking Rick Wamsley and Reggie Letterman for fucking starting positions, there's something wrong there, man.
I didn't look it up. Canada Cup rosters. I did not look it up. World Cup of Hockey and that shit that they were doing. But he wasn't. Vernon was never fucking there. He was never fucking there, and that means something. And back to this.
But Ken did say he was busy on Electric Avenue having a good time.
He was busy, right?
I mean, that goes back to our vintage back in the day. There, we had a few good times back in Electric Avenue.
Didn't get paid for Canada Cup.
Tell me who were the Canada Cup goalies in 1990, and then the one
Grant
after
Fuhr,
that.
Pete Peters, and Mike Palmatier.
Pete
Mike
Peters.
Palmer. Was Pete Peters on there?
Peters was
I don't know.
84.
No,
Peters was 84.
Yeah.
Peters was back up in
Peters was
84 for
I'm
Olaf
Grant Fuhr.
Kolzig was there. Yeah,
Olaf
I bet
Kolzig
you
was
Olaf
not there.
Well,
Okay.
Jeepers. Who was? When was there?
Ask and answer, guy.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. I don't have the rosters in front of me, but I want to talk about McGillney just for a quick sec. Once again, as I
It's a
brought
bad
up,
segue, but you tried.
it's the International Hockey Hall of Fame. Like, that guy put his balls on the line and snuck out of Russia, right? And so he wasn't able to play international hockey for Russia because they might have
Murdered him.
kidnapped him and cut his balls off.
Well, there's that murder
Right.
thing, yeah.
Right. They're not afraid to murder people.
He might have suicided himself there. Yeah.
Yeah, he might have fell off a windows celebrating something.
Yeah.
And I think that should stand for something too. The bravery it took for him to like sneak away from Russia, but I don't understand
who's? I got one for you guys. Who's better, McGillney or Paul Kariya?
Paul Kariya.
I would say McGillney for length.
Well, there you go.
Korea, it sucks because he got Steve Stevens.
He was 1,000 games and over 1,000 points. He's over a point a game, right? In his
He
career.
scored 89 goals one season.
Yeah.
He's better than Paul Kariya. Kariya was in because he's Kariya.
Yeah.
But McGillney is a Hall of Famer.
I think also didn't Korea win a couple of cups?
And he died on the ice too.
0 cups.
Yeah, no, he no cups. Lit it up until
he
he
should have won a
into
cup that year that
Scott
Stevens there killed him.
Okay.
0
Stevens
cups.
murdered. Yeah, when he got murdered at center ice.
And then
there
he
by
got
Stevens.
traded. And then he got traded to Colorado with his buddy Timo Solani to be the greatest team ever, and they did fuck all.
He was.
If you want to talk overrated players who were in the Hall of Fame, Paul Kariya is one of them. Paul Kariya wasn't that good. He had a good career in Anaheim, the Ducks, the whole thing. Paul Kariya is not a Hall of Famer.
Agreed.
Hall are really good. Really good.
And I still stand by the fact that, or I believe that Korea is better than McGillney.
Maybe more skilled, but like the longevity, like after that Scott Stevens hit, he was never the same.
Jeez, that was something else, wasn't it?
When he was dead on the ice. Yeah,
I'd still be lying at the Brendan Byrne Arena.
I'd still be there. It's like driving a car 100 miles an hour into a brick wall.
Jeez,
that's what happened to Paul Kariya.
Well, and then let's look. Lindros was never the same after
Scott Stevens. Oh yeah.
Put him in the train track.
Is there inherently wrong something with the way the Hall of Fame is voted on?
I think so.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I just because again, I think you said the Hall of Very Good's different. The Hall of Fame, they should be difference makers and guys that change the game, or if you didn't have that person on a team, would they have won? Or is every other team trying to come get them, like we said earlier? I just think those are types of players that go in the Hall with a couple of really good seasons. You got to win cups. You got to get some of the personal accolades with it, the top scorers, goaltenders, Vesnas, things like that, right? You have to get some of those as well. Obviously, gold medals help a little bit and some of the nation stuff, but you got to be game changers.
I think it's always difficult to make those borderline calls, and they will always get called to task on people like Tom Barrasso. But in the main, I think it adds something to the zeitgeist of the times, the spirit of us talking about things, to have people go in every year. And if that was the price of having a couple of underlings like Tom Barrasso and maybe Pierre Turgeon go in, and
I noticed you didn't say Mike Vernon there, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, okay. that happens from time to time.
No, it's crazy to think how that guys don't get in the first ballot, and I will never understand this first ballot, 20th ballot, how you become better over time. One thing I would do, because next weekend's the NHL draft, and then the Monday after that is the NHL awards. Why don't they, if they're so worried about their time frame and everything else that might happen, why does the NHL just do this? Friday have the draft. Or no, Friday have the NHL awards, and you get down, have a good time. Saturday had the draft like it used to be, because it was a one-day event back in the day. There was 8 rounds. It was done. Lindros got drafted at 10 in the morning, Mountain Standard Time. Call her good. And then Sunday have the Hall of Fame and call it good. If there's 9 guys who get in that year, that they get in. I don't think after maybe your second year that you should gain momentum and become a Hall of Famer 10 and with Mike Vernon, Tom Barrasso 20 years later. I really don't, Dave.
Because what's the criteria, right? Like 5 years after you retire. That's fine.
Something it's 4 or 5.
That's NFL. I know NFL is. I don't know what any other sport is.
Yeah, I don't know either exactly, but because Lundqvist it seemed like he was playing 2 years ago. And so has he been gone for 5 years already? And I get it, we're getting old.
I think it's only 3 in the National Hockey League, I think.
Okay, so that's pretty quick. And then Bernie and
but here's another thing too, though. Hey, obviously Lundqvist, I think, has a lot of the stats and accolades to go with things. But it's the now getting these guys in 3 years just because they're fresh in your mind doesn't mean they had 2 good seasons. They're better than some of these old guys. Again, like an Alexander McGillney, he's getting pushed back when there are guys that are coming out just because they had 2 good years.
Roenick, I think Roenick should be in.
Yeah.
So should Roenick?
I think JR Superstar is a Hall of Famer too.
Again, especially for what he did for American hockey in that era,
and that helps, being an ambassador for the game and being a spokesman for the game. I think that helps a lot. Where you just
But just at that time when he was playing really good hockey was a big time for American hockey to pick up, and Gretzky had gone down there,
and he was part of that '96 World Cup of hockey team.
Exactly,
that picked up.
So he brought
Amonte's a borderline Hall of Fame guy.
Yeah.
Well, like that team, like that was Keith Tkachuk, JR,
borderline Hall of Fame guy,
and Brett Hall, and Richter, and those fucking Hatcher brothers on the back. It's
you like Kevin Hatcher? He's your favorite.
Can't stand him. There's so many guys on my list, but like he was on that team and they won because of Richter. But it really pushed. I think that team did more for American hockey
than anything else ever has.
Well, than the 1980, right? Like
the Gretzky trade to help.
Well, the Miracle on Ice got these guys playing hockey, and these guys got the next push going. Right? It's funny, like all their fucking sons are in the league now. So
when we talk about Hall of Fame and that time lag that happens in between some people getting in, and I may be mixing things up a little bit, but Brent, like it took a while in the baseball side of things for people to appreciate Blyleven's statistics and what he did and the body of work he did over time. And I think he got in late. Was that not the case?
Yeah, Bert Blyleven, he Minnesota Twins World Series champion in 1988. They're no 87 and 89, I think it was. But Blyleven had a really good run there with the Twins. But Blyleven's thing is he really didn't mind promoting himself when it was all said and done. Blyleven was a hauler, really good guy, but he actually promoted himself a lot. He's kind of the Mike Vernon of the world when it comes down to it.
But if you look at Blyleven, he didn't really have a lot of wins. Say he didn't get 300 wins. But he was playing for a god-awful Twins team most of the time.
Yeah.
And yet, if you look at his ERA, his all-star appearances,
did enough individually in baseball where he could get a Hall of Fame nod, right?
Yeah.
And that's where hockey's different a little bit, Kent, is that, like, you need the rest of your teammates to make you great in hockey, whereas baseball, you can get in the Hall of Fame, which is being great by yourself. Right? Does that make any sense?
So do we look at goalies now then in hockey like we do a starting pitcher? Because you can be a great goalie on a shitty team, right? Like have a 920 save percentage, but then have a 500 record for your career.
I think you can rate a National Hockey League goaltender the same way you would have a running back in the NFL. Really, if you have a guy here, you have a guy there, he plays 3 years, good enough. Like, who's the guy who played for Vegas Golden Knights? It's a week and a half ago. I can't remember his fucking name already.
Aiden Hill.
Aiden Hill. All right. So Aiden Hill wins the Stanley Cup, and you could have had Dave Roberts, Brent Werlinski, or Kent Herron. That doesn't matter. NHL goaltenders or Mike Vernon or
he literally, like, Aiden Hill literally was the 5th guy on the list. Starting day
NHL goaltenders now, they're if anybody goes out and spends $10 million on a goaltender now, they're stupid. They're actually stupid.
So let's talk, and I wrote these names down, and I want to touch on this. Let's talk about the goalies that are active now, and at the tail end of the career. Who gets in? Like, and the 3 names I have written down is Vasilevsky, Carey Price, and Jonathan Quick.
Quick's in.
Yeah, Quick's in. Price is in.
Price isn't in.
You don't think so?
I don't think Price is in. Didn't do enough.
Well, Vezina, gold medal.
Yeah. How many was it? Was it 1 Vezina or 2?
For sure 1, and I think he got a.
Man, he was 5 years. He was a stud. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're putting Mike Vernon in, you're putting Carey Price in.
Okay, so rank those 2. Rank these 3.
Curtis Joseph's in before Carey Price is in.
Oh, you are high. You are fucking drunk, high.
I scored a goal on Curtis Joseph. So, and I didn't score many goals.
Calgary Canucks.
There you go. I was playing for the Lloydminster Lancers at that year. Exactly. Yeah.
A tip-in? Or
No, it was actually a really good goal. I could regale you with it, but it's going to get cut from the podcast, so I won't.
No, it won't. Ken, I have a guy who scored on me. One of his, and I'm sure if you got to talk to Wade Redden, his first HHO goal was on yours truly, Brent Werlinski, when he played for Mr. Blazers back in 1990-92. So yeah, one of those things, kind of quite
very
funny.
Cool. Very cool.
And now he's married to Underwood or whatever her name is. But nonetheless, so let's rank them. Vasilevsky, Price, and Quick. All 3 in the Hall of Fame. Who's in the Hall of Fame? Who's not?
Quick's in for sure. 2 cups. I go Vasilevsky because he has a cup, and
1.5 cups.
And then I might put in Carey Price.
I think all 3 go.
Yeah, and all the same order as Radlinski there, but they all get in, I think. And it might be because Carey Price is Canadian and the things slant this way, but there's no way if Henrik got in that pick, he'll get in that pick too the minute he retires.
And Carey Price never had a team. He never had a team.
No, he took that garbage team to the Cup final.
Yeah, and then the COVID.
Well, in the half Cup final, the COVID final stuff, right? I think Price is overrated. That's my opinion.
And am I leaving anyone out, like, of contemporaries right now, like Bobrovsky or?
No, I think that's it, man.
Those are the 3 right now.
Honestly, longevity with goalies is minimal nowadays. Like, but that what's his name there for the Chicago Blackhawks there, Crawford. But he played like 6 years, won 3 cups, and that was it. Is that Hall of Fame?
No, but he did win the first one. That Swede, Antti Niemi, won the first one.
Right.
And no one's talking about him.
But 2 cups out of Crawford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. Corey Crawford or Mike Vernon. Same resume.
Yeah.
That's Corey Crawford burning hot with a really good team. I think I might take Mike Vernon over Corey Crawford, to tell you the honest to God truth.
Yeah.
So the Red Wings weren't a really hot team?
The Black no, I agree, but I'm just saying I think I would take Mike Vernon's body of work over Corey Crawford.
I agree, but the Detroit Red Wings win a Stanley Cup no matter who's in that year.
No.
They benched Osgood for Mike Vernon.
Because so good was having a good time in Detroit. Same thing as fucking
whatever.
The Colorado Avalanche only finished about 8 points behind them in the regular season. Okay, they had just won the Stanley Cup the year before. Okay, they go 7 games with Bernie and Pat Roy in the nets, and Bernie outplays them, taking him to the Stanley Cup Finals where they win. So yeah.
Who'd they beat? Like, that was Detroit's first cup too.
But they also won the Stanley Cups as well with Chris Also Good. Correct?
Yeah, no, I don't think Also Good was ever a starting goaltender. Or maybe
he
one
won
of
2
the 3
as a starter.
No, I disagree.
He won 1 because Hassett got the other. Yeah.
Because Hassett got 1, right? So it was Vernie, then Also Good, and then
I know. I think it went So Good, Bernie.
No, Vernie
Oh,
won
so
the
good,
first
I
one,
love it.
and Vernie won the Conn Smythe. So I will give him props for that. And then Also Good, and then Hassett.
Yeah, Conn Smythe. And you know what?
Conn Smythe
Bernie could have got the Conn Smythe in '89. They gave it to McInnes. I actually thought they should have given it to Bernie. And I think there was like 1 vote difference between them. He was robbed. He was robbed because
Donald Trump looking for votes.
Yeah, he was robbed. No, because people
if wishes and butts were candy and nuts.
If butts were candy and nuts, be Christmas every day in your fucking world, Ken. Jesus, man.
People held it against Bernie that he liked to go out for the odd cocktail. And it looks like you people are in this room, and you guys shouldn't. Yeah, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but we're not drinking the
Vernie Kool-Aid with him doing whatever he was doing.
And we're not going to any induction ceremonies in 3 months.
Calgary or Edmonton, whatever it be. Boys, the Hall of Fame, it's a crazy thing. It's always a great conversation no matter what you have. You can always this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. Who right now is playing right now that is National Hockey League is a guaranteed lock to get in the Hall of Fame. When the season ended today, if every player were to retire, who's getting the Hall of Fame right now?
Well, that's kind of easy. We can all say Crosby and Ovechkin and Connor McDavid, like he's getting in the Hall of Fame.
I don't know yet. I'm one of those sports purists, man. The body of work. Yes, he's had some great seasons, but what do you compare? If you're comparing hockey Hall of Fame seasons, he hasn't even touched Gretzky seasons yet.
Carey Price, Jonathan Quick, Vasilevsky. We've all kind of aside from Duskin, we've agreed.
Are you putting if McDavid were to be done today, pulled his groin, fucking done deal? Is he in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
No.
Kent?
Yes, he is. He's dominated hockey for the last 4 or 5 years.
No cups.
Is Letang in?
Yeah, it's Malkin in.
Oh yeah. Malkin, Letang, Crosby are all in.
Those 3 are all in.
Fleury?
I think Fleury's in.
Jonathan Toews.
I think I would rather have Mike Vernon than Marc-Andre Fleury in that.
Oh, you're out of your mind.
You bumped your head, yeah.
No, I think they're comparables. I would Vasilevsky. I forgot him. Fleury. Vasilevsky.
Guy's in already.
No,
you can't take him out.
Price, Jonathan Quick, and Fleury. I think Fleury's number 4 on that list. You can't put 4 goalies in from
Fleury's
one
ahead
generation.
of Carey Price.
Yeah, because of the 3 cups or 4 cups, whatever it is now.
Disagree.
He's probably
Quality
I
of
put him
team in
second
front
on
of
that
him.
list.
So
Let me get this straight. Let's hear this out. If you play for a bad team and get a lot of shots, that makes you a good goaltender?
who's okay?
Carey Price? Why are people sucking Carey Price off so much? I don't. What's
Why
he
did-
done?
Why did people suck Roberto Luongo off?
I'm not.
What has he done? But he's in the Hall of Fame. So I think
I think
Luongo.
Luongo's a little overrated.
I think
My
Luongo
opinion.
was worse than those 3. I think Luongo's shittier.
Luongo's way better than Carey Price.
Wrong.
Luongo had some pretty amazing seasons.
He was the
was
captain
the-
of a fucking hockey team.
Could
Goaltender.
he lost Vancouver? That Vancouver should have won the cup. Roberto Luongo is the reason Vancouver did not beat Boston.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's
quite
the
possible.
only reason. Luongo
But-
is the
okay, but-
reason
but
that 2010 Olympics had to go to overtime.
No, that's not true. Luongo won it. Luongo won that. Luongo was a gold medalist.
he was,
Carey Price was on a gold medal team.
and Luongo was also on a Canada Cup team too, I believe.
You know what I mean? Like Luongo won a gold medal. Carey Price was on a gold medal team in 2014. They could have anybody in that in 2014.
I kind of disagree, but I hear what you're saying. I trust Carey Price more than I trust Carey Price more than I trust Roberto Luongo.
I'm not saying Price is a bad goaltender. I just don't think Price is this fucking all-world goaltender because he played for Le Habitant and got $10 million a year, the first goaltender to get that. He's
So,
not
but-
that good. He's not
But
that good.
you're saying Luongo's better.
I believe so. I believe so.
I think it's pretty close.
Pretty quiet there, Dave.
I don't know. Like I said, it's they're goalies. I don't know. I put Fleury ahead of both those guys. Just because-
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's Fleury would be number 3 by a long shot. By
Just
me.
Fleury, if he was clutch man in playoff hockey and stuff like that, he was huge. Like even that first round that he had with Las Vegas their rookie season, and that was a lot on him in that playoff run. So
That's a good point. That's a good point. What Fleury did that first year in Vegas, I don't think there's the headspace between Luongo's ears and fucking Price's ears to do what Fleury did. Because Fleury's been told he's been shitty by his franchise for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Go here, go there. He's like, okay, I'll go play.
Well,
Luongo can't do it, and Price can't do it either.
Pittsburgh, he was their boy, and they traded him. Right? He started that first round of the playoffs when what's his name, Matt Murray came in.
Shitty.
And
That's
then
a
Murray.
bad goaltender.
Well, no, but they benched Murray for Murray and won a cup.
No, I got the utmost respect for Marc-Andre Fleury. He's going.
He's
to
a great
I
great
think so.
guy.
Fleury's
So-
a Hall of Famer. Kent.
I think so.
Yeah, I'd say Fleury's a Hall of Famer, and I do like his resiliency because he's had to pack up shop and told he's not very good, and actually had some games and some points in his career where he went through stretches that he wasn't very good.
For a veteran guy late in his career, him and that Jonathan Pickman had that was some good hockey for old boy goaltenders. Like you don't get to see that much anymore because usually they're
I
growing,
love
their hits are
Quick.
gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
that guy stops pucks. I love the way he does it.
He almost destroyed the Oilers 2 years ago single handedly.
But that's the thing, right? So Quick.
And at 44 years old or whatever the heck he is. Like he's like 73 years old back there.
He put five years of brilliance, but a 10, 12-year career. Like him and Kipper with their brilliant careers
But
were
those
like
two
on the
cups
same
puts
thing.
him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but Kipper didn't have the 5 years on the front end and back end.
Yeah.
What's
Uh,
shitty?
you know,
We're going to talk about goalies tonight. It seems to be a goalie show tonight, a little bit here in the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. For Beer Sports Talking a whole lot more, brought to you by SeatGeek and SeatGeek.com. But it's funny how you talk about like we guarantee, like, because Drew Doughty's a Hall of Famer, no, right? Correct.
I agree.
He's a lock, but there's goaltenders. You go, well, maybe, right? Like without Quick, the Kings don't win those Stanley Cups, right? But Kopitar's in, Doughty's in, blah blah blah. Like forwards always get in, but goalies always get forgotten about.
Well, you do get the shaft, right? Because you do
Yeah.
go on like a 3-4 year run when your team's
And
really
that's
good.
it.
And then that's all if you're, and they don't usually, a player will get shipped in and out after that run or leading up to it. So the goal, but the forwards don't, but the top echelon forwards stay or defensemen, but the goalies will ship in and out or whatever. And you only get like a 4-year window. And if you can provide that good, they'll give you a little bit of money. But then if you don't play good after that, they'll get you out and get someone new in when younger, right?
Ken, what was the like you would know because you're obviously a Mike Vernon hugger and everything else. You see him and you're fucking everything else on the street in Calgary there. What was his biggest contract? Did he make big dough? Like he was like $4 million a guy a year kind of guy.
I would hazard to guess he was in the top 3 goaltenders paid in the NHL from the years 86 through 93. And then had a veteran contract that paid him really well. I actually don't know the numbers, but yeah, he made good money, and he signed some big contracts for.
You like Mike Vernon a lot.
Yeah, look, I've always thought he should be in the Hall of Fame. I always thought he should be in the Hall of Fame for his work with the Calgary Flames to run those 5 years, and in particular, sort of the cherry on top was the 2002 Cup. And so
Mike Vernon career earnings $24 million.
Well, he made in 93, 94, he made just over $1 million. And then from 95 to 2003 or 2002, he made roughly probably $3 million a year, plus or minus a couple bucks every year.
But which was good, well paid for that time.
And I think you're going to see that a lot more with goaltenders because obviously with like we said, Aidan Quinn, I remember his name. Aidan Quinn won a Stanley Cup with the Vegas Golden Knights.
And now he's a free agent.
And now you're going to see guys. You're going to see guys getting overpaid and goalies getting overpaid. I don't think you're going to need to overpay for goaltenders anymore. It's sad, but you don't need a great goaltender. You need a good goaltender to win a Stanley Cup.
If you've got good enough defense, you just need a goaltender that'll put a 6'4" frame in front of that net and stop
all the easy ones, a few of the hard ones, and you have a shot. And I don't think there's enough teams that realize that because Connor Hollaback, he's going to have himself a rude awakening when no one wants to give him that $9.5 million he's looking for, leaving the Winnipeg Jets. Boys, this was a lot of fun talking some goaltending, talking some hockey, talking Hall of Fame because this is the easiest conversation no matter what you do when you go to a bar and have a few drinks and you talk Hall of Fame because we did it years ago talking Pete Rose and laughing about that. Is Pete Rose going to Hall of Fame or not? We did down in Denver, Colorado, having jokes about that. Dave, me and you at Silver Buckle talk about the Hall of Fame guys, and Dave and Robes, we always have a good joke about Hall of Fame and everything else. So it's always an easy conversation. Who should be in? Who should not be in? Kent, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Brent, and thank you guys for having me on. It was highly enjoyable, and like I said, I've been an on again, off again listener to your fine show, and you bring a lot of I think wisdom and sometimes not so much wisdom to every discussion. So there's elements of both in each and every one of your show. So that it's something for everyone.
There it is. Dave Roberts, what do you got going on? What's happening?
Nothing, man. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on again. I look forward to something here in the fall. We get NFL wrapped up and we're winding up here. Let's get into something again.
Actually, before we go away here, there's something we got to talk about. The elephant in the room, and Dave went for a piss because people aren't going to watch on YouTube later on tomorrow. But there was some shenanigans going on down in the United States looking for that Titanic thing, and we had a little segment that we called I Hope You're Stupid. What's your thoughts? Kent, we'll start with you. Were those guys who went down, they're adventurers, whatever. I don't care. But we Me and Dave came up with this thing a couple weeks back. We just called "I Hope You're Stupid." Kent, were those guys like millionaires? Just because you have millions of dollars doesn't mean you're smart.
Yeah, I think
Are
it's
those
easy.
guys? Were they stupid?
They got millions of dollars. They wanted to see the Titanic. Well, you understand their need to not only spend their money, but to maybe go see something neat. I don't really know if they were stupid or not. I don't know the safety precautions. I don't know the protocol. I don't know the warranties given, but I think their relatives may want their money back.
Dave Roberts, what's your thoughts?
Oh man, I rest in peace, all those guys. I can feel bad for all that stuff, but boy, this is your sign. Like this, and we need more of this in life. I think because we got a lot of people out there that are in the wrong way, like Darwinism at its finest. Like they jumped into a tube with a little tiny hole to go to the bottom of the ocean 4 miles deep. Not a chance. It's like guys that go up in space. Again, no, thank you. I've got $250,000. I could spend it on something a lot better than killing myself.
Dave Van Robes.
You got some time?
Yeah.
I've followed this thing actually quite closely.
Oh, it was must see TV here at 1420 World Headquarters. So we'll get
This thing was like they steered this submersible with a fucking Logitech game controller.
I think it was a Nintendo 64, but yeah. Anyways.
Well, the people on the internet say it was a Logitech, and they did that vessel itself didn't have any navigation stuff. It just got beams up from up top. You got to go right, you got to go left, you got to go right, you got to go left, and that's what they did. And it was so fucking budget. The waiver form was 3 pages long. On 2 of the 3 pages, like you might die. Like this is ridiculous.
I will never sign up for something that says you might die.
You might. Well, I might.
I don't bungee jump,
but not that.
Yeah, you go to the
I know I will never die on an African safari. I know I will never die on a fucking bungee jumping expedition. I know this.
No, you might die water skiing. You might die skiing.
Yeah,
like snow skiing. Like it's possible.
Not to that extent, though.
No, the level of dying was way higher.
The risk matrix is a little bit different on either end of the spectrum there. Like that's
exactly.
So and Dave, Dave, were they stupid?
Yeah, they were totally stupid. They're fucking. You know what? They're fucking cheap billionaires. Everyone on that fucking boat, submersible, whatever you want to call it, was a billionaire. James Cameron has been down to the fucking Titanic 33 times. I looked it up. When I get obsessed, I look up shit. James Cameron has been down to the Titanic 33 times, and he looked at it through windows. They're going in a fucking cigar tube that's the size of a fucking minivan, and they get a look at the Titanic through a video screen. They're not even. Butthole. Yeah, they're not even seeing anything live. It's like, well, pan the camera that way, and then they get a look at it on a video screen. It could be West Edmonton Mall.
Yeah, but look, there could be some sea critters and that also, like how they engage with the Titanic. All those things.
If you're gonna be a billionaire, don't be fucking cheap.
For $250,000, they can build me an IMAX at my mansion. And then you can show me all the videos you want with a robot that goes down there, and I will look at all the neat things then live.
So they're stupid. In general, stupid.
They're so stupid. If you're a billionaire, don't be fucking.
Part 2 is I hope you're stupid. I don't know if you guys we're all in Alberta here. There was an MLA or an MP, whatever, that had this situation today that put out the word to Taylor Swift because Dave Van Robes is a Swiftie apparently.
I love Swiftie.
He's a big Swiftie. I was unaware until about a couple weeks ago where this government official put out the word to Taylor Swift that you know what, it's bad for Alberta or Canada that Taylor Swift's not coming to Canada for her whatever fucking tour.
World tour.
Is this member of parliament or MLA, whatever it is this person stupid?
Look, it depends on what their end game was. To get noticed and to get in the game, great.
Spoken like a true politician.
I once saw a guy in the House of Commons make a impassioned plea that Tim Raines make it to the Hall of Fame. Okay, it was an interesting. I perked up. I listened, and
because
sure
you cared about it. You didn't give a fuck what the outcome
but
was.
also that got picked up on ESPN and other places, and so it elevated. It gave him some play. It was a little different. You didn't always hear that in the House of Commons, and it worked for him. It really did. So maybe that was the similar thinking behind this. Did the guy get lauded, or did the guy get panned for doing such a thing? I didn't see the story.
Well, it was all about getting Swifty to Canada. Dave, if you're a member of Parliament and you beg for Swifty to come to Canada, are you stupid?
Yes, stay in your lane. We got a lot more problems than getting Taylor Swift to a fucking concert in Lethbridge or Medicine Hat or Edmonton or Calgary, wherever you want to do it. Just stay in your lane and fix the country instead of trying to get Taylor Swifty to our problem. To our province.
I've served some time as a backbench member of Parliament. You don't know the pain of that position and the little joy you get from small wins like you do on a Taylor Swift thing. My goodness. Yeah, you could try being a backbench member of Parliament on the government or even the opposition side. It is grim times, my friend. You will be longing for things to be able to go do.
Our heart pumps urine for you.
Dave and Roby's finishing up. Are you stupid for begging for Swifty to come to Canada?
Absolutely stupid.
I think he should be commended for his creativity.
The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, 4 Beer Sports Talking a whole lot more tonight, brought to you by SeatGeek and SeatGeek.com. Your SeatGeek app, 1420 pod. Great show tonight, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a lot of fun talking hockey, talking Hall of Fame. Take care of each other. More importantly, take care of yourself. Lead you around. Keep your stick on the ice. And what else, David?
I don't want to see Jim swing at any high pitches.
There you go. Have a good night, folks. And we'll
take care, guys.
Take care, boys.
A lot of fun. We'll talk to you guys again on Sunday night, Dave.
Sunday.
You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 Beer with Sports Talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like Boomstick Lady. No free throw is safe from the roar of her sticks. SeatGeek helps her find a seat in the direct eye line of the shooter so she can sit where her boomsticks make the biggest boom. Everybody okay? SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can